So one of the things that I like to do as much as I can during downtime is come up the mountain and go on hikes on trails that have been long overgrown and are no longer in use, in the hope of finding animal tracks and trails and what have you that I might be able to stake out either myself with the camera or to set up a camera trap. Excuse me. And a couple of years ago on one such hike I discovered a fantastic huge nest which belonged to a pair of black storks and their chicks. But it being partway through the season, the chicks were already pretty well grown, and I was filming them from an awkward position as well, quite low down, so it didn't give me the best angle. And I came back last year to try and film the story of the Black Storks, and again I was called away for work, which meant I missed a couple of months, important months in the season, and wasn't able to film the whole story. And this year I thought I would come up and try and complete that story. So I came up just over a week ago, before the storks have arrived, early March, to set up a blind on the embankment that I can have an eye-level view of the nest from. So I did that. I shall show you some footage of me whilst I'm doing that. Set that up, and I came back yesterday to check on the trail cameras that I've put up there as well, and check that the hide is still, the blind is still in one piece and nobody has messed with it. And lo and behold, one of the storks was on the nest, which is incredibly early in the season. So last year they didn't arrive till end of March, and this year it's 15th of March today, and they are already, at least one is already on the nest. So today I've come up in the hope of sitting in the hide for a few hours and seeing what footage I might be able to get of them. So I'll put links and everything to the previous year's filming that I did, if you're interested in that, and I shall catch up with you when I get up to the hide and set myself up there. See you in a bit. framed up, set up. The stork's still not back. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're both back or if it's just the one, waiting for his partner to arrive as well from their migration. So all I can do is wait and hope they come back soon rather than later. One of the difficulties of them arriving so early in the season that I hadn't anticipated is that the leaves on the trees are still not out at all. They're just about budding now, which means I have very little cover coming in, which is why I was happy when, having arrived, I saw that the stork wasn't there, which means I could come down into the blind without disturbing him or her. So it's been half an hour or so since I set up. Still no sign of the birds. And the hardest things is trying to stay vigilant to be able to catch the bird flying in. I know the direction that they fly in from, so I'm sort of zeroing my eyes constantly on that area of the forest to hopefully catch the glimpse of the bird flying in, hit the record button so I can capture it arriving on the nest. It's been 2 hours now, just over, that I've been on standby waiting, and still no sight or sound of them. And there's also the thought gone through my mind that I've only actually seen one bird on the nest yesterday when I came up to check the cameras. So I'm hoping that both have made it back. And that they will again find each other and nest successfully. There it is, it just flew over. Amazing. Flew overhead above the canopy. Just got to wait for him to fly back round onto his nest. I guess that was a false alarm. It was definitely a black stork flew over. But it was, I don't know, maybe a different individual from a different nest further along the mountain. It didn't swing back round. So the wait continues. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's the male that came to the nest. I had my camera turned off, trying to preserve battery because I've been here for 5 hours now. So I didn't catch him flying in, but he landed on the nest and then started displaying really vigorously and doing the wheezing sort of call that they do, bobbing his head up and down. And from what I remember reading, that's part of the mating ritual, but it's also a threat call. So I don't know if he was calling for the female to come in as part of the mating ritual, or if he sensed my presence here and was displaying as a threat. So anyway, he stayed on the nest doing that for literally just a few seconds and then flew off. So I'm thinking I might, whilst they're gone, I might pack up and head off so that I'm not disturbing them. I'm worried that that might have been because of my presence, that display. And I'll concentrate for the for the next part mostly down in one of the meadows near the lake to try and catch them feeding, and if I'm really lucky they're synchronized flying, as I suspect that because they've arrived so early, they're going to be spending most of their time feeding up, getting strong again after their long migration from Africa, before they settle on the nest and start their breeding. So I think in this instance discretion will be the better part of valor, rather than trying to hang on and catch more shots of them, just in case they have sensed me here, or he has sensed me here and I upset him. I think I'm going to pack up and call it quits there. Okay, so having looked at the footage that I got the other day of the stork on his nest, the black stork, I don't think he was alarming at me and warning me off. It doesn't look like anything was directed at me. So I think he wasn't aware of my presence in the end, which I'm a bit relieved about, and I think he was displaying for his mate because he was moving some twigs around on the nest as well, and doing the dipping that they like to do. So anyway, I'll give them a few more days just to get settled in on the nest and get on with their bonding. But I would like to get up there and get some footage of their mating. That would be fantastic if that was to happen. In the meantime, I'm going to spend the afternoons down here on one of the meadows. This is where I filmed them a couple of years ago doing their synchronized flying, but I would like to get even better shots than those. It's not the best conditions just at the minute because the light is so harsh, but I thought I'd come down early just in case anyway, and I'm waiting for the sun to go down a little bit and cool down so that I don't have so much lens distortion because of the heat. So yeah, I'll give it a little while here. I've got 3-4 hours of light in front of me, and hopefully in that time I might get something, so I shall catch up with you in a bit. Okay, so after sitting there for a while I decided to change location because I could see them off in the very far distance, and I didn't think they were going to come closer to me, so I've driven further into the lake delta to try and get a closer shot of them. I did get a very distant shot of a pair, and then I got a single shot now of just a lone black stork coming down, but then I lost sight of him against the mountainside. So anyway, I'm going to hang on here for a while. With any luck they'll pair up and I might get a shot, we'll see. I mean, if push comes to shove, I can always use the shot that I took a couple of years ago. I think it won't be a long shot, it'll just be a clip, but at least it'll show what I need it to show. But fingers crossed I will get a shot here as well, just to make sure it's in the bag. Lighting is really difficult at the moment, so it's quite harsh, and there's still quite a lot of lens distortion from the heat, especially when they fly low. Up high I don't get that so much, but when they come down low to the ground, I get quite a bit of distortion. Okay, so I'll catch up with you in a little while. So I got something of them, although for the most part they were flying away, and then they just got too far away for me and they were disappearing in the shot because it's flying in that direction. They're backlit, so I'm shooting into the sun, and I kept losing them as they flew off into the distance. But I will hang on still in case they should come back this way. I've got about an hour's left of light, so I'm going to hang on just in case they do fly back this way. Though tomorrow I do think I will try from the other side of the lake there. So it's been about a week since that last segment that you will have seen, and I've been down in the meadows here. This is the fourth time trying to get the shots of these storks flying, and so far it's proved to be really, really difficult. Firstly because when I do get to see them, they are at such a great distance away that, combined with the humidity and heat haze that I've been getting off the meadow, it's just made the shots unusable. Secondly, I'm obviously quite out of practice in terms of shooting birds on the wing, so the footage as well has been quite shaky. Partly because I'm out of practice, and partly because this tripod setup is just not good enough for that. And I need a stop-start on a lank cable attached to the panning handle, so that I don't have to keep moving my hand from panning arm to camera to start-stop recording. That's not helping either. So anyway, I have this afternoon, which is a gap in the weather because we've been having horrible weather as well, lots of rain. And there's more coming from this evening for the next at least 7 days, it looks like. More rain. So whilst there's this little gap, I thought I'd come down, see if I might get lucky this afternoon. And then in the next days, whether it's raining or not, I'm going to head up the mountain and see what I can get from the nest. Another couple of hours have gone past, and I got a couple of shots of black stork, but individuals, not as a pair, flying and then coming down to feed. I got a nice shot of a hen harrier, which is amazing. At least I'm hoping it's a nice shot and there wasn't too much distortion in it. And a marsh harrier too, flying around. But in terms of the synchronized flying of the black storks, nothing yet. I've got a bunch of black storks in the very great distance. Thermaling away up there. I've only got one in frame at the moment, but there are several up there. Let's see if I can get a shot of them, the group. If I can find them in the sky, that's the other challenge. I've picked out a pair that I think are a pair. They're very, very far away there, and very small in frame. God, I'm so shaky. Oh, I lost them again. How do they just disappear? I was hoping, they seem to be coming closer, and I was hoping they would, and then I lost him from the frame, and then they just disappeared. Looks like the storm has come back. It's thundering behind me in the distance. and I've had a few spots of rain, and the birds have disappeared now completely. So before I get caught out, I think I'm gonna head back to the car and call it quits for the day probably. I'll see if this blows over, I might come out again. But I guess I shall see you again when I'm up the mountain at the nest. I'm hoping that they will have established themselves now again properly on the nest, and maybe we get some mating shots. So I shall see you up there.